Hi, this is Inform TV 100. Happy Black History Month. So, today we're going to read some more of the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, written by himself. This is Black history, American history. There would be no American history if it was no Black history, if it wasn't for Black history. So, we are going to uh, read more where we left off. And please refer back to the other chapters. We are on episode 9. So go back to episode 1 and so you can follow his life journey as a slave, and he gives a lot of information despite of what people are saying, and he gives a great account of what it was like because he lived that life. Okay. I left Thomas All's house and went to live with Covey on January the 1st, 1833. I was now, for the first time in my life, a field hand. I found myself even more awkward than a country boy in a large city. I had been at my new home only a week before Covey gave me a very severe whipping, cutting my back, causing the blood to run, and raising ridges as large as little fingers on my flesh. This is what happened. Covey sent me very early in the morning on one of our coldest January days to get a load of wood. He gave me a team of unbroken oxen. He had tied the end of a large rope around the horns of one of the oxen and gave me the other end, and told me that if the ox started to run, that I must hold on. I had never driven oxen before, and of course, I was very awkward. I succeeded in getting to the edge of the woods without our without difficulty. But I had gotten only a little timber into the cart when the oxen became frightened by something. They started running, carrying the cart against the trees and over stumps. In the most terrifying way, I expected every moment that my brains would be dashed out against the trees. After running like this for a good distance, they finally upset the cart against a tree. How I escaped death, I do not know. There I was, entirely alone in a thick wood, which was strange to me. My cart was turned over and damaged. My oxen were tangled among the trees, and there was no one to help me. After a long time, I succeeded in getting my cart upright and the oxen disentangled and harnessed to the cart. I went back to the place where I had been chopping wood and loaded my cart pretty heavily, thinking this might help tame the oxen. I then started home, having used up half the day. I got out of the woods safely and thought I was out of danger. I stopped my oxen to open the gate, and just as I did so, before I could catch hold of the rope, the oxen again started rushing through the gate, catching it between the wheel and the body of the cart, tearing it to pieces and coming within a few inches of crushing me to death. And so twice in one short day, I escaped death by the merest chance. On my return, I told Covey what had happened. He ordered me to return to the woods. I did so with him, following me. He was following me there. Then he said that he would teach me not to waste his time and break gates. He went to a large gum tree and with his axe cut 3 large switches. After trimming them neatly with his pocket knife, he ordered me to take off my clothes. I did not answer but stood with my clothes on. He repeatedly ordered me to take off my clothes. I still said nothing, nor did I strip myself. At this, he rushed at me with the fierceness of a tiger. He tore off my clothes and whipped me until he had worn out his switches, cutting me savagely, so savagely that marks were visible for a long time. This whipping was the first of many just like it, and for similar offenses. I lived with Covey 1 year. During the first 6 months, scarcely a week passed without his whipping me. I was seldom free from a sore back. We were worked at the point of collapse. Long before sunup, we were up, our horses fed, and by the first daylight, we were in the field with our hoes and plowing teams. Covey gave us enough to eat, but scarcely time to eat it. We often had less than 5 minutes to take our meals. We were generally in the field until twilight. At certain times of the year, midnight found us there as well. Covey would be there with us. The way he did it was this: he would spend most of his afternoon asleep in bed. He would then come out fresh in the evening, ready to urge us on with his word, example, and frequently his whip. Covey was one of the few slaveholders who could and did work with his hands. He was a hand-working man. He knew just what a man or boy could do. There was no deceiving him. Work went on in his absence almost as well as in his presence, and he had the trick of making us feel that he was always nearby. This he did by surprising us. He seldom approached us openly if he could do it secretly. He was so cunning that we used to call him Snake among others among ourselves. When we were at work in the cornfield, he would sometimes crawl on his hands and knees, then all at once rise nearly in our midst, screaming out, "Come on, faster!" This being his mode of attack, it was never safe to stop a single minute. He came like a thief in the night. He was under every tree, behind every stump, in every bush, and at every window and on the plantation. He would sometimes mount his horse as if he was going to make the 7 mile trip to St. Michael's. And in half an hour, you would see him coiled up in the corner of the wood fence, watching every move of the slaves again. He would sometimes walk up to us and give us orders as though he was about to start on a long journey. But instead of leaving, he would turn back unseen and hide behind a tree to watch us until the sun went down. This is horrible. Covey's great talent was his power to deceive. His life was devoted to planning these deceptions. He even seemed to think he could deceive Almighty God. He would make a short prayer in the morning and a long prayer at night, and a few men seemed more religious than and only a few men seemed more religious than he. His family devotions always began with singing. As he was a poor singer himself, the duty of starting the hymn generally fell on me. He would announce the hymn and nod at me to begin. Sometimes I would do so, other times I would not. My lack of cooperation always confused him to show that he didn't need my help. He would start singing and stagger through the hymn in the most awful manner. In this state of mind, he prayed with more spirit than ever. Poor man, I truly believe that he actually deceived himself into believing he was a sincere worship of God. At this time, when he was guilty of forcing his women slave to commit adultery. The facts are this: Covey was a poor man. He was just getting started in life and was able to buy just one slave. As shocking as it is, he bought her as a breeder. This woman was named Caroline. She was a large, able bodied woman, about 20 years old. She had already given birth to one child, which proved her to be just what he wanted. After buying her, he hired a slave who was a married man to live with him for a year, and he used to lock them up together every night. The result was that at the end of the year, the miserable woman gave birth to twins. This is Inform TV 100. We are reading the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave. Please click the like button, the red notification button, and subscribe if you haven't already have. This concludes this ninth segment, and we will join in together. We will be reading another part.